Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. We start by seeing a frozen location where a cart with prisoners arrives at a fortress. The guards prepare the entrance for what we soon see is a large deformed man. As they enter the prison, we notice how big it is, and most of the prisoners are monsters. However, the man is placed in the cell with a prisoner named Ejin Darvis and his colleague Halga Kilgore. The big monster tries to seduce Halga, ignoring Ejin's warning not to bother the woman, so she breaks his legs and leaves him lying on the ground. Later, some of the prisoners go out to break ice, including Ejin and Halga. Ejin is hopeful because the next day they would be judged again for their crimes of theft and deception. We see that the lords of the jury are composed of humans and animal-like creatures, and their leader is Anderton. Ejin was counting on the presence of an acquaintance of his on the council, but the person never arrived, so he starts delivering his speech. We discover that he was part of the Harpists' Legion, being a spy who pledged to fight tyranny and protect the oppressed without receiving anything in return. He helped gather information and apprehend criminals, even knowing that it would bring no benefits to him. However, as time went on and he kept delivering the imprisoned red mages, he looked at the gold around him and questioned why he didn't ask for anything in return. One day, when Ejin was away from home, some red mages arrived in his village seeking revenge. Moments later, when he returned home, Ejin saw his wife lying wounded, but fortunately, his daughter was safely hidden. However, the damage caused by the mage's blades was incurable, and his wife died. Indignant that no cleric could help them, Ejin renounced his oath. Months passed, and as a single father, he struggled to take care of his daughter. Fortunately, Halga appeared in his life and helped him. As they struggled to make ends meet, they started stealing jewels, including one that was magical and made his daughter, named Kira, invisible. He also added a young man named Simon and a man named Forge to the team, making them an excellent team that only targeted those who wouldn't miss their belongings. They were skilled thieves, but someone knew about them, the mage Safina. She wanted them to help her steal the fortress of Corrine, which belonged to a strong harpist. The fortress contained various jewels and magical relics. Ejin initially rejected the proposal, but upon hearing about the resurrection tablet, which could revive a person wounded by a red mage, Ejin, wanting his wife back, decided to accept the offer. The next day, he didn't allow his daughter to go with them because it would be too dangerous. Upon reaching the location, they invaded it, and Ejin quickly found the relic. However, a mechanism alerted the guards, and they were surrounded. The mage used her magic against some of them, but more guards arrived, so she used her time-stopping magic. Halga was caught and trapped in the magic barrier, and unable to do anything, they ran. However, Ejin slipped and was also captured, but before that, he handed the relic to Forge and asked him to protect Kira. Having said everything, Ejin tells the council that he did it all for his family and regrets separating from his daughter. Before the verdict is given, the other jury finally arrives, a humanoid creature in the form of an eagle. With an escape plan in mind, Ejin and Halga grab him and jump out of the prison without waiting for the outcome, which was actually their pardon. The three are in free fall and narrowly avoid crashing into the ground, but fortunately, the creature flies and carries them away from the tower. The two return to their village but find the house deserted and wonder where the others might have gone. They go to have a drink, and Ejin sees a pamphlet showing that Forge is now a lord, so they quickly head to his city. A city called Vevanunka, surrounding a castle where Forge is admired by everyone. Ejin and Halga meet with Kira, and after being separated for 2 years, Ejin presents his daughter with crochet gloves. She thanks him, although she is still a bit upset about everything that happened. They reunite with Forge, who appears happy to see them. He explains how he became the lord of that place, revealing that after the previous lord fell ill and went into a coma, he used his stolen riches to gain the affection of the people and be elected as the new lord. However, he received help from Safina. Uncomfortable with the mage's presence, Ejin asks Forge to hand over the relic and Kira so they can leave. However, Kira questions him about coming in search of the wealth tablet, which surprises Ejin because he thought the relic was for a different purpose. Forge, who has been lying to young Kira, already knows that the two of them escaped from prison. Ejin tells Kira that he did it all to bring her mother back and asks her to believe him, but she is upset and doesn't want to believe him. Ejin demands the relic, but Forge refuses to give it to him. Enraged, they try to attack Forge, but the mage immobilizes them on the ground. Forge reveals that he joined forces with the mage so that Ejin and Simon would be imprisoned, but the boy managed to escape. He orders his guard to take them back to prison and, as he leaves the room, he doesn't hear Safina commanding their deaths. Moments later, the two are taken to an alley to be killed. Holga, with a plan in mind, talks to the executioner about his axe, and when he is about to cut her neck, she defends herself with a stone and fights fiercely against the other guards using her strength. Meanwhile, Ejin unties himself and assists her in defeating the last guard. Forge goes to speak with Kira, who, considering the possible lies of her father, wants to talk to him, but Forge tricks her by saying that he handed over the wealth tablet to Ejin, and without hesitation, he leaves. Outside the city, Holga talks to Ejin, suggesting that they could send a message to Kira, but he doesn't believe she would see it because she now has Forge as her father. Ejin suggests that the only way is to invade the castle with a team, paying them with the treasures of the lords who would come to bet on the games. Ejin wants to recruit Simon, a mediocre wizard who is despised by his audience, but who is still an excellent thief, stealing from the people in the audience. However, Simon is discovered, and the crowd turns against him. He tries to use his magic as best as he can to escape the situation and ends up falling into Holga's lap before they flee. On the road, Simon reveals that the mage tried to kill him and that she made the Lord fall ill so that Forge could take his place. Hearing this, Ejin realizes that it may not be a good idea to invade the castle's vault. Ejin insists that they need a druid, someone with the ability to transform into any animal, and that one could help them. Simon says he knows one, and they go to where she is. They witness a woman about to be killed when the guard's horse transforms into a bear owl, attacking Forge's guards. The woman then transforms into a young woman with antlers named Doric, a Tifarina, a race that can transform into animals. Simon and the others approach her to ask for help in destroying Forge. She decides to assist them because Forge considers them enemies. He destroyed their homes, killed many of the people who welcomed her, and despite many plans to stop him, they all failed. Meanwhile, the mage Safina admires a shining horn when a shadow begins to speak to her. It is a powerful mage known as Zastam. She is his disciple and removes her hood as a sign of respect, causing her red robes to return. Zastam tells her that she can take comfort in knowing that her work there is almost complete. Forge enters the room, and the shadow disappears. Forge sees Safina and asks her to return to her disguise so they can receive the lords, and she uses her magic to change back to black. Forge leads the lords to see the vault, where the mage explains that the vault is protected by a magical seal called Mordenkainen's arcane lock. They talking for a while, are interrupted by the mage who notices Doric's presence in the form of a fly. Doric escapes the magic, and by changing into a rat, she narrowly manages to escape and leaps from the castle, turning into a bird. Later she reveals what she discovered, that Safina is a red mage and that the vault is protected by powerful magic. Simon says that if it's Mordenkainen's arcane lock seal, there's no way they can open the vault. Unless he were a powerful sorcerer, which he claims he isn't, even though he wants to be, or unless they had a relic called the Helm of Disjunction, which can dispel all magic in its vicinity, but unfortunately, it has been lost for centuries. Holga says she knows a tribe of her people who fought in the dragon cult in the Eternal Marshes and they might know where the helm went. The problem is that they have been dead for centuries. But she claims that Simon can help them with that by using his magic to communicate with them. The mage summons one of her allies to go in search of Ejin's group, and he happens to be one of the red mages who quickly kills Forge's soldiers. Before continuing the journey, Holga stops by her old village where her ex-husband, a very short man, lives. She picks up a staff and leaves him, and then the group continues. They arrive at the field of the dead and unearth one of the corpses for Simon to perform the enchantment. Simon manages to wake up one of the dead and asks about the helm. The corpse reveals that it was with their leader, Stanhard. That's all he remembers before his death. The group continues to question a few more corpses until they discover that the helm ended up in the hands of a man named Zenk Yendar, the Yen with the marks of Zastam. The corpse reveals that he entrusted the artifact to Zenk, which frustrates Ejin because Thions were assassins. However, the three companions affirm that they have heard of Zenk before, and everyone says he is a good man. Ejin asks where they can find him, and they go after him. The next morning, they find him in a village where he is well received. The group introduces themselves and explains what they came to seek, for noble reasons and to destroy Forge and the Red Mage. Zenk takes them to a sanctuary and tells them a story about the mastermind behind it all, the necromancer Zastam. On a solstice night of celebration, Zastam prepared a plan where he used his power to make everyone present witness the magic of the horn, and it killed them all. With the help of his apprentices, including Safina, he turned all the dead into his army. Knowing the good they want to do, Zenk decides to help, but Ejin must first swear on the Harper's seal to redistribute the treasure they take to the inhabitants of Vevanunka. Ejin agrees, and after doing so, Zenk leads them to the location. On the way, Zenk explains the marks on his head, how as a young man, he almost fell victim to Zastam's magic but narrowly escaped. Unbeknownst to them, they are being watched from afar. Soon they arrive at the location, and Zenk descends first, followed by the others. Zenk warns them of the danger and darkness that fills the place but assures them that with his power, he can guide them if they hold on to him. Moments later, they reach the underground where creatures resembling walking brains approach them. Zenk explains that they devour intelligent minds and dominate their hosts, but fortunately, ironically, none of them are attacked. Afterward, the group reaches a suspended city above lava, but Zenk warns them that they need to follow his steps to avoid triggering the destruction of the bridge. Carelessly, Simon steps on a step of the bridge, causing it to collapse completely. Holga comes up with a plan and takes out her belongings, including a staff she thought had no use, but Simon, being a half-mage, recognizes the magical object called Ka'ila. The artifact opens a portal and takes them wherever they want within a certain distance, allowing them to cross to the other side of the bridge. After crossing, Zenk leads them to a chamber where the helmet is securely guarded. It is revealed that the artifact is in the form of a golden helmet. Suddenly, Zenk senses the presence of evil, realizing that they were sent by Zastam, and he fights them alone. Zenk is very skilled with his blades and kills the leader's supporters. However, the envoy of evil uses a sword with green flames, while Zenk fights him with his golden sword, overpowering the enemy and killing him. Zenk orders everyone to leave, because they cannot kill those who are already dead. Suddenly, they see the sent ones being revived. They run, but they are blocked by a powerful blast, and then they witness a large beast emerging from a cave. It is a red dragon known as Thunderchod, who is not in great shape. They all run, and the sent ones of Zastam are killed by the beast, which continues to chase the group. Simon uses his magical staff, but the dragon follows them, and they find themselves on a suspended bridge where the weight of the beast lifts the bridge, trapping Ejin and Zenk, and they fall to their deaths. Fortunately, before the worst happens, Zenk jumps onto the beast and wounds it with his sword, causing it to fall and freeing them. Ejin thanks him for saving them, but the beast is still alive and corners them in a tunnel. The dragon forces its way in, causing water to start gushing from the walls. Ejin comes up with a plan, and they dive into the water just as the beast releases gas from its throat. Simon uses his magic to create a spark, causing everything to explode. The group emerges from underwater onto a beach, and Zenk bids them farewell. Moments later, Simon puts on the helmet so that he can attune to it, and suddenly the magic warps Simon's reality, distorting everything around him. A man named Almer approaches him, and Simon recognizes him as his great-great-grandfather. Almer represents the power that runs in Simon's family and tells him that magic does not tolerate fools. Simon is confused, but is quickly repelled back to the normal world. Ejin checks on him and assures Simon that he can do it, but Simon is repelled again. Time passes, and he wakes up the others, saying that he cannot do it. The group discusses the possibility of failure, but Ejin tries to convince them not to give up because he himself had lost his most precious possession but didn't give up on what he wanted. The group regains their spirits, and they come up with a new plan. The next day, they use a painting as the portal's entrance. Ejin disguises himself on the road and attaches the portal painting underneath the Lord's carriage, allowing them to steal the Lord's treasure. However, their real plan is to place the painting there because their treasure will be stored inside Forge's vault. Doric executes the plan and then escapes through the carriage's roof. Later in Nevenunca, the group arrives and rents a room. When they activate the portal, they realize that they had placed it face down on the ground. Ejin decides to go back to Plan A and asks Simon to attune to the helm because he is capable, having faced dangerous things before, and his magic is exceptional. While Doric tries to enter the portal, the others come up with a plan. Moments later, they use a hologram of Ejin to distract the guards. It works for a moment, but unfortunately, Simon's magic starts to fail, and the hologram distorts and disappears, alerting the guards to the intruders. The three separate, with Ejin going after his daughter, Helga instructing Simon to find the vault, and she fights the group of soldiers. Helga proves to be strong and easily defeats the guards. Armed with her reinforced iron-melted axe, she effortlessly dispatches them all. Meanwhile, Simon finds the vault but is surrounded. He puts on the helmet, where time passes differently for the user, and Almer reappears, stating that he will not attune with Simon. But Simon encourages himself and confronts Almer, causing Almer to transform into Simon, completing the attunement. Simon uses his newfound power to easily defeat the guards present. The power spreads throughout the castle, and Ejin notices it, rejoicing at his friend's accomplishment. When Simon and Helga enter the vault, they realize there is nothing there but where Doric was. The real vault is located, where Forge's soldiers were stealing all the Lord's treasures and taking them away by boat. Carelessly, Doric is knocked out and captured, followed by Simon and Helga, who are imprisoned by the magic protecting the vault in the form of tentacles from an ancient race. Ejin finds his daughter, but as he apologizes to her, Kira mocks him. He discovers that she is the mage and is then captured by the evil tentacles. Forge arrives and says that Ejin is going to die, but Ejin asks for a chance to fight in the arena of the games. With approval from the mage Safina, Forge allows it. Doric wakes up and learns that they will participate in the games, but his powers are blocked by a magical bracelet. The four of them are taken to the arena along with other participants. The arena begins to form a labyrinth that they must navigate, but the challenge is not that, it is to escape a ferocious beast, a panther with something else inside it. Ejin's group notices the other participants grabbing weapons from chests, so they search for such objects to confront the illusion magic-infused beasts that easily deceive the participants. Meanwhile, Forge observes the lords whom he has deceived and robbed without their knowledge. With his ship ready, he bids farewell to the mage, who, not wanting to talk, orders him to leave her city. On the other hand, in the game, Doric and Helga narrowly avoid being engulfed by hot jelly, but with her injured hand, the jelly removes Doric's bracelet, freeing her to use magic. Ejin is cornered by a panther, but Helga saves him. After the group reunites and reaches the other side, Ejin, lost in thought, realizes that it is not the end there. Doric has an idea and leads them to the jelly, explaining that if they stay there for a long time, they will be consumed. The group accepts her plan, and as a new challenge begins, they enter the jelly and are taken beneath the arena. Doric transforms into a snake and escapes through the opening, freeing the others. They realize they are inside Forge's empty vault, and Ejin hands Simon the keys to the bracelet. They then set out to find the ship. Meanwhile, Forge, who is leaving and has a fondness for Kira, decides to take her with him. However, he is surprised when he reaches his ship and finds his men unconscious, with Ejin's group waiting for him. Ejin reveals the reason why he left his daughter, the resurrection tablet, where Forge had been lying to her all along. Ejin calls his daughter, and as she approaches him, Forge takes her hostage and orders the group to leave his ship. When Forge is distracted, Helga hits him on the head with a potato, causing him to release Kira. Afterward, Simon uses his power to create a small wave that knocks Forge down, and they leave the dock. Meanwhile, the mage begins her ritual, intending to bring great evil to the people. Inside the ship, Simon and the others are happy with the treasure, but they are alarmed when a large dark cloud descends upon the arena of the games. They realize that their plan was to attract the entire population and some lords to turn them into undead and soldiers of Zastam. They decide to go back and try to help the people. However, Safina has already completed the ritual and begun the plan to kill everyone in Nevenunca, starting with the arrogant lords. At the dock, Forge wants a ship and his ship arrives, but when he opens it, he sees all his treasure being sucked into a portal and thrown at the city's people. This attracts the population, who follow the balloon that leads them out of the arena, leaving the enraged red mage behind. This time, Ejin asks his daughter to join them, but she uses her pendant to become invisible to everyone. They want to go after the mage, but she starts attacking the city and targets them. Simon defends them, and Doric tries to attack, but Safina throws her aside. The red mage uses her magic to awaken a stone dragon, and the group fights against it, but the dragon is strong, and Doric, transformed into an owlbear, is no match for it. When the dragon is about to devour Ejin, Doric throws a small bomb at the mage, distracting her and causing her magic to vanish. Ejin and Halga then try to attack Safina, but she traps them in a glass globe. Doric tries to help them, but the red mage is powerful and attacks her with a monstrous, giant hand. Fortunately, Simon intercepts the attack with a hand made of stone, saving Doric. The two mages engage in a magical battle, but the red mage is still stronger. She grabs Simon and throws him far away. The group regroups and fights against her together, but the four of them are no match for her powerful magic. Safina then uses her power to freeze time around her. The four of them are imprisoned, and it seems they are about to be killed by her, as she transforms and ages herself, having lived for over 300 years. Safina approaches Ejin, confronting him, claiming that his end has come. However, he starts moving and taunting her, revealing that Simon managed to reverse her spell using his power. They had planned to pretend to be immobilized, waiting for Kira to appear and place the bracelet that blocks her powers on her. Enraged, Doric grabs Safina and throws her against the ground repeatedly, and then against the castle walls, causing rubble to fall on her. Ejin, Kira, Simon, and Doric are happy with the plan, but they realize that Halga has been wounded by a blade from a red mage. Simon says he can't help, so Halga says her goodbyes and dies in Kara's arms. Seeing Kara's suffering from the loss of Halga, who was like a mother to her, Ejin remembers that they both raised her, and Kara was happy with the warrior Halga. Determined to restore his daughter's joy, Ejin takes the relic, which can bring one person back to life, and utters Halga's name. The artifact then dissolves, bringing Halga back to life and leaving them overjoyed. The group goes to the people who adopted Doric, and they rejoice in their victory. Like a family, they are ready for whatever may come, as the evil Zastam still lives. In the forest, Forge is found by Zenk and taken into custody. After the mage is captured, her magic disappears, and the previous lord awakens, reclaiming his power. He honors those who first defeated the evil. The movie ends, taking us back in time to the beginning of the prison, where we see Forge telling his story to the court judges, explaining how he ended up there, and expressing that he has learned and is ready to be forgiven. However, forgiveness is denied, and he decides to do what Ejin and Halga did, clinging to the humanoid eagle and throwing himself against the covered wall, mistakenly thinking it was still open.